Welcome to the shop. It's where I build boats, in here, in the garage. After the first launch, there were a number of deficiencies I had to correct. You saw the list on the video. But the first thing I did was to fix the car top carrier. The boat has a shear in it, and in the middle it wasn't even touching the roller, so I had to chisel that off and make new chucks and put the thing back together again. And now when the boat sits on top of the car, at least I've got support in 3 areas instead of 1. The next thing I had to do was to fix the seats. When the first time I sat on it, the Luan strips that I had used to hold up the flotation foam completely broke out. So I had some leftover indoor-outdoor carpet from building the Weekender. So I stripped that out and stapled that on there, and now I've got at least flexible hold for the flotation foam. And then the next thing I had to do was to change out the oar clamps. When I noticed when the wife was trying to row the boat, everything went wrong, not the least of which was the oars kept coming out of the chucks. So what I did was drill the hole and put this bolt through it. Then I have clips down here to keep everything from coming apart. So that ought to work out a lot better. And the next thing I had to fix was the clamps themselves, the chucks where the oar lock fits. And I had it about 1.5 inches high, and when I tried to load the boat, that turned into a major bump. So I put those down to 3/4 inch and made them longer so they would hold a little bit better. And now I can slip the pin through, and the oars don't even come out. That'll make the wife a lot happier. And then another thing that came up was notice the wife trying to get the boat back to shore. I saw that the skeg had broken completely. So I had to take that off and make a whole new one, and I decided that my board I had in the stern that extended all the way to the back was a mistake. So I cut that off and made a new skeg and put that on, and I decided to protect it by covering it with some metal, which I used some aluminum strips, and then I extended that all the way through the entire keelson. So at least when I scrape it or something, we're going to damage something that's replaceable instead of damaging the hull. Speaking of, the website and the instruction book for this Whitehall tell you to do not scrape it across concrete. Well, I did that, and I wore a hole right through the fabric. So I had to repair that, and I decided to use some fiberglassing technique. I had some strips of fiberglass, some edge protector fiberglass, and then I used the resins, and I did that all in, and I was concerned that it would become so stiff that it wouldn't flex with the fabric, but it actually does. It flexes with the fabric. And then I thought, I'm going to do this all over again if I don't protect it somehow. So I added some strips of wood right along the chine and all the other ribs in the middle where it usually gets hit. So then I had to stain that, and when I finally got all of that together, I decided I really needed to coat this one more time, and the 4th coat of varnish brought it up pretty shiny, and I think that's really what it takes, 4 coats of varnish. I only had 3 on it before, and I think the water was seeping in. I wound up with water inside the boat, and the sides of the boat were wet, and I hadn't turned it over or dumped it. So that was another thing I did. Also, my plan A of using furniture dollies to transport the boat from the car to the water didn't work out at all. That's partly how the damage got in there. So I decided I would have to build a beach buggy. So I used up a lot of shop leftovers and made myself a kind of a beach buggy with a couple of rails, and I put some what they call pipe insulation on it. and eventually wound up with a buggy, and then plan B, I attached it with bungee cords, and that was still too much stretch. So I switched that out for some tarp tie-downs, which have a lot less stretch. And in the final analysis, I have a little beach buggy. And if you're wondering where to get the wheels, you go to Harbor Freight. They have a whole wall of wheelbarrow wheels and utility cart wheels, and that was a lot cheaper than those big, low-pressure balloon wheels that they use for sand. So my buggy will probably not do very well on the beach in the sand, but at least most of the places I can launch the boat, there's a ramp and they're all concrete. So that should work out very well. So let's see how loading goes. One of the big advantages I have now to the beach buggy is that it's not so hard to turn over the boat. Because when I use the boat, I have to load it upside down, but use it right side up, and altogether between garage, lake, and back again, I turn the boat over 4 times. So I had to come up with some way to support it, so I made the beach buggy exactly the same width as the boat, 46 inches. So let's see how that works out. Well, so far this has worked out pretty good. Of course, there's only one other thing left to consider. How am I going to store 2 boats in my little garage? Here's how. On edge. That's what the cart does for me. It lets me put the boat on edge. It's pretty secure. And there you go. Boat finished, stored in the garage, 2 boats in the garage, still got room enough to walk through and work on stuff. That's the way it is.